My technology is fully synced. It comes pre-synced, and there are human beings like little elves. You know, do you believe in Christmas?
I do.
Do you believe in Santa's little helpers?
I do.
You do. I don't. I believe in the U.S. government, who spends billions of dollars to make sure that the people of the United States are faced with the realities of a narrative that is required for them to exist. The U.S. government did not start running narrative until the Second World War, as well as the massive amounts of political cartoons. For example, do you know who Loot Peace is?
You've spoken about this person.
I own the largest collection of Loot Peace art in the world. They are the most valuable
cartoons?
Political cartoons.
Yeah.
That was the first time that the U.S. government really used media, as well as Walt Disney, to affect children, who obviously affect adults, because you know the opinion of a child is far more important to any logical person who is raising children than the opinion of other adults, whose opinion is really forced or created by society. And we look at everything that's going on. You see, isn't it interesting? It's a camera within a camera. So when you show this one, you will be able to show that, hey, all we use is one small GoPro with very limited budget. But digital consciousness is very much real, and we are only a few decades away from the first instances and being able to see live on screen what the suspended state of a human brain is when it goes into a digital front. But please remember, evolution is really important. Charles Darwin explained very carefully the theory of evolution, but he also stated a lot of very, very smart quotes. And the reason why I say this, let me turn this off. The reason why I say this is because we as a society don't even believe in our family, let alone the U.S. government. And in order to understand what Project Ghost does, is that there is a certain signature that all ghost projects have, and there's always two. So for example, this man, Daniel Penny, what a coincidence. I am going through a lot of issues, and right here in my backyard, there is a 26-year-old Marine who, for whatever reason, found himself protecting other strangers. He inadvertently, while using his training given to him by the U.S. government, killed a human being.
Correct.
These issues would not be issues had the New York City civil servants done their jobs and identified mental health within the person that was killed.
Right.
But because they are receiving billions of dollars in federal aid and pocketing the majority of the money, our homelessness issue in New York City stems from civil servants who simply do not do their jobs. The man that was on the train should never have been allowed to be in public in the mental state that he's in.
Right.
So when you see a Marine step in and do his training, you look at it and be like, all right, who is this guy? He's a 26-year-old white man with blonde hair named Daniel Penny, who was exonerated. So now he's innocent. So now I say, hey, how many innocent men are going to be arrested by the New York City criminal justice system in order to distract the public from the reality of how corrupt government is? So let's continue. Then we find ourselves within hours of the Daniel Penny verdict, the release of another 26-year-old man, the release of the information of another 26-year-old man named Luis Mangione, who is highly educated, very intelligent, found himself being manipulated mentally by the modern day media and making a horrible decision to kill another human being. Now on this channel, I condone violence, and I do not support this man, Luis Mangione. But the American media will take hold of this story because it is a transition story of a dual narrative. You have Daniel Penny, who represents the Republican side and is a human being who is vilified by the left. And then you have Luis Mangione, who is vilified by the right as being a murderer, but he is the voice of a rebellious generation of people that will find themselves without purpose. And that's really what we want to avoid in the government, is humans without purpose. Because idle hands are a devil's plaything or something like that.
I don't know that thing.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that everyone learns from the example. But unfortunately, there are certain ramifications that are going to come out. And one of the biggest ramifications that is going to come out is this man, Luis Mangione, will actually be an underground martyr. That we have become so numb to the realities of the pain that people suffer that we as a society unfortunately will tolerate people supporting a murderer because we live in a very politically charged climate. But take a look at the actual story from the high view.
Okay.
10,000 feet up. What are the probabilities of two white men committing two of the most controversial criminal acts in the last 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, before then it was Kyle Rittenhouse.
Right.
There hasn't been any violent acts committed by white men that are nationally televised other than school shootings, unless I'm not aware.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
So after Kyle Rittenhouse, there's a dual narrative being spun by Daniel Penny and Luis Mangione, which is a complete balance of our society. So both sides are able to point a finger at one another.
Yeah.
Now, what are the probabilities of that coincidence happening in New York City, of all places? See, I don't want to travel that far. So, the drama has to come to me. My name is Dan Rhesus. I am not only a federal agent, I am #1 in the world in applied mathematics. I invented a science called mathematics applied, which you have just seen, where I use basic statistical analysis of 300 million Americans, 1 in 300 million, multiplied by the square root of X. And I say that because really it's squared to a point where the number is almost impossible. But the probabilities of having both narratives and both being released at the exact same time during the election is virtually impossible. So what I say to the people of the United States is, that is a narrative. I am not saying it's fake. I'm saying it's real. I'm saying it's two tragedies. There are two humans that died.
Right.
Two. And there are two humans that are of identical age, of identical skill set, because I assure you, the guy that can print a ghost gun and assassinate a human being is just as dangerous as a foot soldier that can put a mentally ill guy in a chokehold. They're both extremely dangerous. So the question is, where were they trained? And you're never going to get that answer because you don't deserve that answer. You are not part of the narrative. You are just here to enjoy it. And that narrative is designed for you to be distracted by the realities that the majority of the people in the U.S. government are extremely inefficient and are nothing more than bureaucratic showpieces in order to justify hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars being taken from a budget, a line item of tax bills, and given to community programs and law enforcement and things like that. And that's really what I do.
Is there some sort of solution?
Well, there's no problem. That's why
just two stories.
it's just two narratives that are one single narrative designed to divide the country, not to unite the country. Correct. Because division really, and when I say that I am not the director of Project Ghost, there's many people that disagree with what I do. Obviously, they don't have a say in the world because I'm G1 and they can suck my fucking dick. But there is a core 40 that are all like-minded and have bent the knee, and we're all forward thinking, and we all think the same exact way. And if you want to call it a cult, you can call it a cult. But the official number of Project Ghost members, we've always kept at approximately 400, and there's about 400,000 affiliates, which are human beings that are either paid money or a human comes to them and says, hey, you got to be here at this time, don't ask any questions. If the story goes public, we'll deny everything and your memory will be wiped. Oh, no, just kidding. I'm not kidding. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Do you understand why it's very important for us to tell the truth on behalf of the U.S. government is because we live in a world of lies and conspiracy theories. So before the conspiracy
everyone's trying to get someone on one of the sides to divide them.
100%. It is very important for the humans that are believing in the narratives to be a part of the narrative by convincing the other side.
Right.
Correct. So what I'm doing right now is simply nothing more than saying, hey,
this is what's going on.
Listen up right here. A sniper can't just shoot and nick a piece of an ear off. But apparently it happened.
Yeah.
And apparently you have two 26-year-old white guys that simply find themselves, and the ironic part about it is Kyle should be close to 26 right now. I think he should be 24, maybe 23, maybe 25. I kind of don't really give a shit because I think that he has misused the platform that was given to him as a young man in order to profit off of it, where, you know, shockingly enough, human beings should be able to earn a living in a legitimate sense and not profit off of the fruits of being the center point of one of the most complicated, if not the most complicated narrative of all time that I created and I ran with a mathematical equation called POX, known as the balance theory. Now that was really hard. To create the Daniel Penny and Louis Mangione, that stuff's been around that's salt, same as last time. You know, there's hundreds of public narratives that I could point to, starting from the 60s, everything from the Kennedy assassination, and then the assassin being assassinated. I don't believe in all that stuff. I believe in mathematics.